Hi everyone, this is me, admin Josh from Pageant Empress, and in today's video, I have a special guest with me. I have pageant mentor, analyst, and a commentator, all the way from Australia. Hello, Mr. Peter Sereno. Hello, sir.
Hi, George. Hi, everybody.
How have
Thank
you
you for
been?
having me. This is good fun.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview with me. For me, I feel so honored to have you here.
Oh, anytime.
So you're at the moment in Australia, right? Am I correct to say it? Tasmania?
Correct. Yeah, I live down in Tasmania, so I'm not in the mainland of Australia. I'm in a little island down south off the coast of Australia.
Interview, I just want to know more about you as a person, as well as the contribution you have made to the beauty pageant industry, which I heard a lot of great things because I interviewed your friend last week, Mr. Lewis. So he has told me a lot about you. So I'm really interested to know more about you.
Good things, I hope.
Yes, yes, a lot of great things. So let's start with you. So I know you're Filipino. So were you born and raised in Australia?
No, I was born in the Philippines. I was born in the Philippines. I was born in Davao City, and but I grew up in Manila. And my family migrated to Australia when I was a very young child. So I pretty much grew up here in Australia. My formative years was spent here in Australia. So yeah, this is home.
High school and education in Australia, right?
Came here as a young child. So yes, I did primary school in Australia, high school, college, university, all of that stuff. So
What was your major, sir? So what was your degree?
yeah, so I went to university because that's what we did back in my day. And I have a Bachelor of Arts in Communications. And I specialized in journalism and in public relations. And I actually worked as a public relations consultant and a public relations expert for many, many years, leaving university. And I used a lot of those skills and a lot of the things that I learned in university and the stuff that I did for work and applied it to beauty pageants. So when I trained a lot of the girls in their competitions, a lot of it had to do with relating to the public, connecting with the public, connecting with the media, and really making the most of those opportunities.
As you talked about beauty pageant and training girls or pageantry in general, I would love to know how did it started? So when did you start training or mentoring young girls for beauty pageants?
It actually happened by accident. Like a lot of all of you, I started my obsession as a child with beauty pageants. Growing up in the Philippines, it is a phenomenon. And we see and treat beauty pageants quite differently from the rest of the world in many, many senses. Now, that's very different here in Australia, right? But I took my interest with me to Australia. It's always been something that I've been passionate about. But it was really more of an interest than a hobby for me. I am one of the older people who went into university and college just when the internet was taking off. So when the internet was presented to us, I managed to connect with a lot of the other pageant experts and fans from all over the world. I'm very proud to say I'm part of the old guard. So, we've got people like Enrique Fontes from Global Beauties, Rafa Delfin from Critical Beauty as well. All of these other pageant sites that are no longer with us. And what started first as a conversation became a passion. And a lot of us who were back in those days just starting off sharing interests are now mentors, coaches, media owners, pageant site owners, and movers and shakers within the industry. And so in many ways, I was part of that wave. I started doing some fashion commentary and reporting for, I think we actually started off with Global Beauties and Miss Universe Australia. The former directors found me. They were reading a lot of my stuff, and they had asked me in 2003 to give some advice to the then candidate, Ashley. That's pretty much where it started. It carried on the following year. Jennifer was the contestant for 2004. I was very good friends as well with the lady who provided her wardrobe for the competition in Ecuador. A lot of advice, to be fair and to be honest. Jennifer didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was pretty much just sharing knowledge and interest from a lifetime of watching pageants. And we decided to tackle Miss Universe 2004 in a very different way compared to what a lot of the other countries have. And I really wanted Jennifer to connect with people and be relatable. So you'll find that prior to 2004, a lot of the girls were very choreographed, very polished, very rehearsed, very perfect, and very touched up. And that's not what Australia is. Australians are very laid back, we're very down to earth, and it was all about, that was really the beginning of the girl next door phenomena. So when people talk to me and say, you taught Jennifer how to walk and all of that, it's like, no, I didn't teach her how to walk. I mean, there's no such thing as teaching someone how to walk. We can all walk. In fact, it was a case of really highlighting her individuality and her imperfections. And that's what made the world fall in love with her. And the rest was history.
I want you to talk a little bit more about Jennifer, because a lot of people may not know this, but you are the guy who trained the Miss Universe 2004, from Australia. So I would love to know the process, your training process.
The way that I train, I connect with people in a very deep way. I'm not a choreographer. I'm not your standard coach or pageant training camp ethos. And the way that I do this is I get to know somebody, I find out what their strengths are, and it's putting those strengths forward. So with Jennifer, she's a cheerleader from one of the regional centers of New South Wales. She doesn't go around acting like some queen or some princess. That's not who she is. And in fact, none of our Miss Universe Australia girls or any of our pageant girls actually act that way. In fact, we tend to laugh at people who do that because it's just so fake. What we do is we inject a sense of realness and relatability to the pageant. I know a lot of audiences out there look at Miss Universe as an inspirational and aspirational. We do that. We are a very inspirational and aspirational country, but in the sense that we are very realistic. We don't get out of bed looking glamorous. That's not our thing. We are the type of people that you can come up to and, we want to be your friend. We're the type of people that you want to get to know better, not necessarily worship. So I think that's the difference with the way that I approach pageant training and pageant mentoring.
That is one thing I've definitely noticed, especially from the Australian beauties in Miss Universe. It feels like, okay, I can talk to her and still be friends with her, which I think is a great quality to have.
That relatability, the warmth. Warmth is very important. I think that's what us Australians are known for. Our lives don't evolve around pageants and Miss Universe. You compete, you work hard for years to prepare for this one moment. And, if we're lucky enough to win it, you have the crown, and your personality and who you are as a person is taken away from you for a whole year. It's like royalty, or your body, yourself, you're owned by the organization. So, and then after that, the moment you take that crown off your head and put it onto the new winner, you're gone and you're forgotten. Someone else is the toast of town for the next 12 months. And you move on. So we don't really just aim for the crown. We aim for longevity and we aim for relevance. So what I impart to the girls are skills that then they can take and use for the rest of their lives, and help them with the career after the crown.
I don't know how young I was when she won, but I've been following her journey.
No, don't say it. Don't say it. It'll make me feel older.
Very successful after Miss Universe career. And if I'm not wrong, she's one of the most richest, right? Successful in terms of making a lot of money, Miss Universe winners too. So clearly she has listened to your advice and she had made a fortune out of it.
We have a lot to thank Donald Trump for. The guy knows business, and the guy knows branding, and the guy knows how to make money. I think the advice and the management that he had then selected and helped for Jennifer has really paid dividends for her. So she's set for life. I don't think Jennifer was the type of person who went into Miss Universe to become Miss Universe. Of course, we always send our girls to compete and compete to win. Otherwise, why bother? Yeah. But, that's part of our charm. We kind of go in there and think, all right, you know what, if we win, great. But if we don't, then it's a great experience that we would learn a lot from. And I think the winners for any kind of pageant are the girls who not necessarily win the crown, but the ones who come out with better management, great networking skills, excellent networking contacts that will then make them a success and would then help them pursue the dreams that they've always had.
Touched on Mr. Donald Trump. So you have been watching before Mr. Donald Trump became the owner or since Mr. Donald Trump?
Oh, look, I've been watching it since well before Donald Trump.
One question is asked by Mr.
Ah,
Lewis, and he asks, no filter, what do you think of Miss Paula and her management of Miss Universe pageant? You have to be honest, this is no filter.
I think Paula has a very difficult job. It's the kind of job where you're really trying to make everybody happy. She has done a fantastic job to date. The way that she has led the organization through all of these changes, especially through COVID, is something that you have to admire. I do not believe in staying in the circus for too long. I'm sure Paula Shugart has her dreams and all of that. And I actually admire people who know when it's time to go.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. There's a lot of questions. So if you don't mind, I'm reading the fan question. I'm looking at the phone to read the question. Why pageants should not be seen as more than just an entertainment?
Can you wait a minute, Joe? That's a very good question. Can you repeat that again?
Yes. Why pageants should not be seen as more than a entertainment?
Like everything else in life, we get into strife and we get into trouble if we treat something more than what it really is. If we're talking beauty pageants, the reality of the situation is, yes, we can put platforms, we can put statements, we can do that. The reality is we have a bunch of women who are trying to change the world based on their appearance. And that's not correct and that's not right. Yeah, we're trying to justify our existence here by saying, well, look, we can make a difference because this is our platform. We're doing charity work and all of that is amazing. My whole thing is, if that was the case, why do we have to go and see someone in their swimsuit and their evening gown before we hear them speak? Why are we even judging them on their facial beauty? And why are we even judging them on how they look in their clothing if it is more than a beauty pageant? So look, I think we can learn a lot from beauty pageants. I think there's a lot of very intelligent, beautiful, commercially beautiful women out there who have something to say, and I celebrate them. But I think if we try to make it more than what it truly is, I think that's where we get into a lot of strife.
I agree with you. And as someone who is from the next generation of beauty pageant commentator, I also noticed that, like, especially with my generation, we are so stuck on thinking of a certain way that beauty queens is a role model and we should not judge them based on the looks. But I feel that we are kind of missing the point, because the whole point of beauty pageant is about how to look as much as how you speak, whatever you do. But I feel like the younger generation, like my generation, are forgetting that beauty pageant started as a bikini competition, and yes, it has evolved, but it is still judged based on looks, and I feel like they are missing the point.
I think it's important for the next guard, for the new generation to really look back and look at the history and the dark history of pageantry. As such, there is a lot of darkness and there is a lot of ugly side to the industry of beauty that we tend not to touch on. That we tend not to kind of look back and say, oh, so that's where it came from. And I think it's important for us to look back and look at the mistakes and look at the bad things maybe back in the day and how we have learned from it and how we have progressed from it. And that's the beauty of pageants. We are at the forefront of change in a lot of ways. And it has changed a lot. It has changed a lot. So the other thing too, George, that we have to remember is when we first started, we didn't have social media. We didn't have the kind of accessibility that you guys, that we have now with beauty queens. Back in the day, we looked at beauty queens differently because they were untouchable, they were unreachable, they were uncontactable. We didn't know how they sounded. We didn't know, what they stood for. We purely judged them based on how they carried themselves and how they looked. These days, we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we know what a beauty queen has for breakfast and for dinner, and they're talking to you guys directly, and that's wonderful. It's that generation and this trend of accessibility. And I think that opens up a whole new can of worms, because with them being more accessible, fans too have more access to the internet to voice out their opinions, bad or good. And on top of that, the ugly side of it is we have fans that are setting up fake accounts and anonymous accounts and using these accounts to then attack what they don't like and what necessarily don't agree with their point of view. We are actually coming into an age that is something we have never seen before. And I, for one, am excited. I'm also a little bit disturbed and scared by it. So I think we're going to see a lot of ugly, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. One of my major fears with this whole accessibility is you're probably too young to know the entertainer, the Mexican entertainer, Selena. Yeah, and you know the story of Selena, how you know the she was murdered by one of her fans, and God forbid we end up having something like that for pageants. That is one of my fears. So I think we have a lot to learn, and there's still a lot of things that we have to figure out.
I agree with you. And like I said, even though like I am from this generation, I still have a lot of fears, because if I say, God forbid, if I say one wrong word, I could get cancelled any moment of time. So that is why I have to think super carefully before I even go on Instagram Live or YouTube Live or do any videos. And it is one of my fears, getting cancelled.
Look, people will get canceled for whatever reason these days. And I think that's the fear that all of us have. And look, I could get canceled after this interview just because I said what I said. That's another thing that's really worrying, this whole cancel culture. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
I really like that. I really like your attitude. You're very honest. And I think we need more people like you, especially in the beauty pageant industry. The next question to you is, do you think beauty pageants are still relevant?
Entertainment-wise, absolutely. I think it gives us something to kind of escape to, especially after COVID. A lot of, I was lucky enough to be an essential worker. So I didn't necessarily have to isolate. I went to work every day during COVID. I was very lucky to be living on this island. We haven't had a single COVID case in well over a year. So life here is pretty normal where I am. But in saying that, I do recognize and appreciate the fact that there's a lot of people who are still in lockdown, who haven't been able to get out. That is the kind of environment where we are so in desperate need to escape. And absolutely, just like in the reality TV shows, there is a place for beauty pageants. I guess it's a case of when you say, is it relevant? In what sense, though? It's relevant in the sense of entertainment and escapism, absolutely. Is it relevant in terms of making a change in the way that the general public think? Probably not. I think we can get that from a lot of other places. And I guess social media does that for a lot of things. You don't need to be a beauty queen to do that.
New fans, I feel that we need to kind of think of beauty pageant as an entertainment more than that, because I feel like when you take beauty queens to a higher level and you have such a high expectation, they get really upset and really disappointed if she makes one mistake, or let's say something happens, and she gets cancelled immediately with just one mistake she did. I feel like that should not be what that defines her, because she's a human being and we all make mistakes, and I think that we should learn from that. We should forgive her and say, let's move on.
I think there is a very unhealthy way of looking at things. And I think we can slip into this kind of danger very easily, especially with beauty pageants. As fans and as commentators, I am a little bit hesitant in calling anybody an expert. I don't even like calling myself an expert. People can call me an expert, whatever, but I don't like calling myself an expert because I'm still learning. And it is an industry that is constantly changing every year. The standard of beauty is changing. The way that we look and judge the girls on stage is changing. But at the same time, we tend to look and hold these women at a standard of perfection that is almost unattainable. And we have all of these fans who, you're right, the moment they don't live up to that expectation, they get canceled. They get, they just get bullied. And it's such an ugly, horrible, horrific thing to do to another human being. I'm going to name names. I know Peru was subject to bullying from other Latinos, right? That
Yes.
was terrible. Nova Stevens, when she was talking about her online bullying, that was just that's horrific. And when Rabia Mateo, progressed through the swimsuit, the bashing that had started because of that, it's just I don't understand, why people think they are in a position to do that to another human being. It's just really distressing, sad, and depressing.
I would like to kind of touch on what you just said. Since you have many years of experience, watching pageant and being a commentator, what message would you like to give to my generation who are, some of them have just started watching pageants, let's say since Catriona won. So it's been like, what, 3 years? So they're very fresh and they don't really have grasped the, idea of a beauty pageant. So how would you suggest them to, I don't want to say like act on social media. Obviously, we cannot control the emotions, but what message would you like to give to those pageant fans? Because they're having a lot of trolling and, like you said, a lot of hate message being spread. Do you have any suggestions or any advice?
First thing I want to say is I wanted to say thank you to the new generation for taking up these coat of arms and keeping the tradition alive. The Miss Universe pageant, the Miss World pageant, Miss Earth, Miss Grand, Miss Super, none of this will exist without the fans, without us. The directors, the owners, they are listening to the fans. If anything, your generation is probably one of the most powerful generations, but you are shaping the industry as we speak, day to day, with your feedback, your comments, your favorites. They are listening. So you are in a huge way shaping the way pageants are, and they are going to be in the coming years. My advice to that is keep your passion alive, put a bit of reality into this, and look at the girls as human beings. These are young women who are working hard to achieve their dreams. They're working hard to achieve, their goals. It's a stepping stone to wherever it is that they want to get to. Just like you, just like myself, they are people with feelings. So yes, absolutely, we are very passionate, and we have our views and we have our opinions, but we really have to think before we do anything. And this goes with anything else in life anyway. I know P.O. Wurtzbach said this years ago, think before you click. People listened to it for about 5 minutes. And then it was back to, trawling and doing all of that. But just think, you don't want that to happen if it was your mother, if it was your sister, if it was your daughter. It's a terrible thing to do, but just be kind. Be kind and support everybody, because everybody should still doing their best.
Really nicely. I probably would not have worded as good as what you did, but I just wanted to say, let's just be responsible as human beings, because whoever we are, treating that way is also a human being and they have feelings and emotions. The next question I think is a very good one. Do you think sash factor is still relevant in beauty pageants these days?
Absolutely, it is. There are markets out there that are a lot stronger than other countries. Certain countries will send the most amazing, beautiful, smart, eloquent women, but sash factor absolutely plays a part in the decision, I think, of the organization and the judges. And I would like to look at it from a business point of view, from a commercial sense. Countries with sash factor are the ones that have amazing support, amazing sponsors, markets out there that will support their delegates and will support the brand in general. So, we could send some women from a country that has zero interest in pageants, who have zero sponsors. Why would an organization crown someone from a country like that when they know they're not going to get anything from it, sponsor-wise, marketability-wise? I mean, we send amazing girls from Australia, and we are one of the stronger delegates that compete year after year in a lot of different pageants. But the reality here is it's a very small market. We don't even show pageants on TV, and barely do we even show up in the newspapers these days. And in fact, because a lot of our women here can achieve their dreams in other ways, other than pageants, beauty queens seem to be looked as a frivolous thing and oftentimes laughed at. So for many, many years, the other thing that, the sad truth that I do tell my girls is nobody takes a beauty queen seriously in Australia. And that
Right.
is just the hard reality of it all. um, you can deny and just reject that claim, but I have been in the industry, especially here in Australia, for a long time. And a lot of people who know me, I'll always say to them, there's nothing that pleases me more than being proven wrong. And I would love to be proven wrong in this instance. But the reality is nobody takes a beauty queen seriously in Australia anyway.
I think I have to agree with you on that because I grew up in London, in United Kingdom, and even in the UK, even though it is the home of Miss World, Miss World is not even
Yes.
taken seriously at all. So I have to agree with you. Forget about Miss Universe, but even Miss World, no one takes her seriously. Even if you know how many crowns UK has won, and also Julia Morley lives in London, but I don't feel the same kind of passion that I do here when I came to Thailand. It's a huge different. It's a different type of
Yeah.
environment. Like I see even an
Correct.
average like a mom or like an auntie, they watch pageants in the TV, but in the UK, no one watches it. And it's just a different type of mentality, I would say.
If you look at Western countries, and if you look at the history of these pageants, Miss World, Miss Universe, all that all started as a swimsuit pageant. The Asians, the Latinos, all of that, the developing countries. Yeah, we may know the history of that all, but we never saw it like that. We saw Miss Universe and we saw beauty queens as an avenue to get out of poverty. It's an opportunity to make something of yourself. In a lot of Western countries and a lot of developed countries, we don't need to compete in pageants to do that. You just go to school, you go and do your internship, and you get a job. You can change the world in many other ways. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer. Now, I do appreciate the fact that a lot of women can't do that in certain countries. So I think in those kinds of countries, they would look at beauty queens as an opportunity.
Talk about one of the sash factors because we just talked about sash factor, the
Hmm.
Philippines. I heard there will be a national pageant happening. So this will be the second edition of the Miss Universe Philippines under a different organizer. What qualities are you looking for in the upcoming Miss Universe
I
Philippines?
think the Philippines have actually come up with a style and a look that is different from many, many, many other cultures and many, many other countries. And it is a style and a culture and a way of competing that is being emulated by many other countries. So there's a lot of up and coming countries out there that are actually looking to the Philippines when it comes to training and competing. What am I looking for with the Philippines? I actually am not looking for anything from the Philippines. I think they are doing an amazing job. I think they need to keep doing what they're doing. I don't think they need to change a single thing. I think whatever is they're doing is working for them as a country and as a market. It is very different from the way that we do it here in Australia, and that's the beauty of it. We don't want to be the same as the Philippines, just as the Philippines doesn't want to be the same as Australia.
Philippines has won 4 Miss Universe crown and 2 recently under the IMG, and I think that's a huge accomplishment. I know there was a few people who are a little disappointed with Rabia's placement, but I have to say the Philippines has done an amazing job.
If we were doing it, because I also do some coaching and training for modeling agencies, and when we're coaching the new generation of models compared to the older generation that were trained in the classical sense, that's how I see the Philippines. The Filipinos are trained in the
Right.
classical beauty queen sense, and keep doing it. Look, you've the Philippines is my motherland. I was born there. In saying that, Australia is my home. Philippines is competition, so I don't want to give too much to the Philippines either, uh, because we want to keep the competition going.
I got on a fun note, so have you watched the recent Miss Universe, which happened like a week ago?
Yes, I did.
Questions, are you happy with the results of Miss Universe?
And this is my opinion. I like the show.
Right.
I think we had a very strong batch of competitors this year. Anybody could have made the top 20 and would have been, wow, amazing. There were a lot of amazing girls that were left out, but that's just the nature of the competition anyway. The only thing that I felt was a little bit lacking was the diversity. It was heavily Latin centric, and I don't blame the girls for it. The girls have been preparing for so long, and they were cold, hard competitors, and each of them deserved to be up there. But I do feel that it was a Latin blockout. Yeah, I felt that there was a serious lack of diversity. And you kind of look at the girls and you look at the top five, and even India looked like a Latina, and they all look the same. But
Right.
do I have any issues? I'm not mad with Mexico winning. I'm not mad with Brazil coming second. I think there were amazing girls, but I would have loved to see more diversity. I would have loved to see Amanda from Thailand make it to the top five. And she was probably one of the strongest Thai girls that have been sent to Universe, especially when it comes to interview. I would have loved to hear her statement. I would have loved to hear her, her final question. And that would have made the judges job a little bit harder. But yeah, a little bit more diversity would have been nice this universe.
Because when I was watching the pageant live, and I was live as well on my Instagram, and
Mhm.
there were a lot of people saying that this has kind of gone back in time when during the Donald Trump era, the Trump era of Miss Universe, where it was heavily dominated by the Latinas. So people are saying that we are going back. Do you agree with that statement? Do you think like Miss Universe from IMG we're going backwards because of this year's heavily dominated by the Latinas?
I don't think we're going back per se. I just think that the environment that it was held kind of was conducive to having majority Latinas making it to the top five. You were in Miami, you had a lot of Latin judges. Telemundo was the major sponsor. The entertainment was all Latin, so yeah, all right, whatever. So I think it was just one of those environments that were conducive to having a Latin winner and a majority Latin semifinalist. So it is what it is. Are we going back? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think in a lot of ways we probably elevated it. One of my favorite things to say is, if any of our former Miss Universes were going to compete this year, I doubt any of them would have won.
That's a huge
That's how
statement.
strong
Yeah,
that's
it
how
was
strong the
very,
competition was.
very
So
strong. I have a fun question for you. So, since we talked about Donald Trump and Paula, who are the owners of the Miss Universe pageant, if you were to run the Miss Universe beauty pageant, how would you run it differently?
first of all, I don't want to run the Miss Universe pageant. I think that would be a hell of a job. Um, I am not a people pleaser. So you probably would have picked up already that I'm a very honest person. I'm also a very genuine person. The way that the Miss Universe competition is running at the moment, I actually do enjoy. I love hearing about the girls. I love hearing about their platforms. I love looking at their videos, promoting themselves and what have you. So if I was running the Miss Universe competition, I probably wouldn't change a single thing. I'd probably only bring back and a lot of people would hate this, the continental queens, only because it just encourages diversity. Now, um, we have different standards of beauty. We have different colors, different types of beauty, and we need to see more of that on stage. I would love to be represented by a woman up there that kind of looks a little bit like us, and yeah, a bit more diversity would be great.
On the continental groups, I think you know that in Miss World, they have every single year they have a continental queen. So we have a very diverse top five. So what do you think of Miss World pageant, especially the owner, Madam Julia Morley?
I have been privileged enough to have attended a Miss Universe pageant live and a Miss World pageant live, quite a few times. And the two are run very differently and they operate very differently. And in fact, they actually attract a different kind of competition. Now, I do really, really do appreciate Julia Morley. I have met her a couple of times too, and she's probably one of the sweetest women that I've ever met and have come across. If there was anybody that I have met that have come close to maybe meeting the British royal family, Julia Morley is probably it. I ran it, but there is a certain warmth with Julia Morley that I think is it's probably lacking in a lot of the other different pageant systems. What I appreciate about Julia Morley is there's that sense of tradition. I think that keeps us old guard happy, but she also has people in her staff that is pushing the boundaries and introducing things that are making it more relevant. I do love the charity aspect of it all. I do love the emphasis on on humanitarian work.
Agree. Yeah.
It's probably the only pageant that I have experienced where it is a year's work of charity and humanitarianism, and I'm not seeing that from all the other pageants. I think a lot of the other pageants will do a couple of exercises through the year. They'll raise awareness as such, but I will put it out there. I think Miss World winners are probably the hardest working um, winners out of all of the pageant systems.
Yeah, and I'm not being biased because I'm British, but I have been following, like I said, Miss Universe and Miss
Yeah.
World since 2003. So it has been over like 15 years. And I've seen the reign wise, I do think Miss World's reign is a lot stronger because she travels throughout the world and she even goes to places that, a lot of the beauty queens, a lot of people would not want to travel to third world
Yep.
countries, Africa's, and she's willing to help and do humanitarian charity works. And I think that is amazing. I haven't seen other pageants, not going to name them. I've not seen a lot of the international queens doing that except for Miss World because they have been contributing a lot in terms of beauty with a purpose
Right.
and helping a lot of people. And I think that is admirable. And I think we should give them the same type of appreciation we give to Miss Universe, because I feel like Miss World kind of gets a slack because, the production is not as high standard as other pageants.
I think Miss World are actually working queens. They work all year and they don't necessarily get the kind of coverage and publicity that other pageants would. So, you'll find other pageants, they'll visit other countries, and there's a huge production that comes with it. And it's almost like a song and dance. And it's sad to think that maybe it's done for appearance's sake. I'm hoping that that's not the case. So I do appreciate the fact that Miss World are probably one of some of the hardest working beauty queens out there, and they do what they do not for publicity, but because it is beauty with a purpose.
So we're almost at the end of the chat. So I have a couple of questions. Let's do a rapid fire, if you don't mind. I'll keep you for 10 minutes. Would that be okay? Would that be okay?
Take your time, whatever.
What do you think of South Africa not making top 21 in this year's Miss Universe?
Devastating. It's a crime.
Do you agree with having no Miss Canada making the top 21?
I think she definitely should have made it up there. Absolutely. I think if she did make it up there, she would have probably made it to the top 5. So shutting Nova out, I think, was another crime too.
Top 5 best Miss Universe, according to you.
Okay, Sushmita Sen, Denise Quinones, Lara Data, Cecilia Baloko, and oh my goodness, Lupita Jones.
Controversial. I was not expecting
No,
that.
I know a lot of people don't like Lupita. I admire her. So yeah.
I was not going to ask
So
you
those
that.
are my top 5.
Right. So you said Lupita Jones. I have another rapid fire question for you. Behavior of the national director. Do you think it affects the girls' chances of winning a Miss Universe crown?
It could absolutely do that. I do believe that a lot of the competition and the campaigning happens behind the scenes. And the competition is, there's a lot involving the national directors and the team. So absolutely. If you've been around for as long as I have, you kind of know and see things that a lot of people don't see. And I will put it out there. The competition starts the moment you get there, even before you get there. And yes, the national director has a huge influence, how the competition is run, for sure.
Do you think Miss Universe is a biased pageant?
I wouldn't say so. I think not necessarily just Miss Universe. I think all pageants would be. It's not just a case of we're going to choose the best girl. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. So I don't think it's fair to single out Miss Universe on its own as a biased pageant. I think there are no clean hands in any pageant.
Which one do you prefer, Trump era or the IMG era of Miss Universe?
Can I pick the one before Trump's era?
I was not expecting you to say that. I don't really remember, but go on.
You guys won't do it, then this is the beauty of YouTube. You can go back before the Trump era and then watch the pageants then. I think there was a lot more transparency prior to the Trump era. It was the kind of thing where the girls would come out, they would introduce themselves, and you saw their scores for the preliminaries. You saw their scores for the swimsuits and all of that. I love that kind of format where once they get chosen for the semifinalists, their scores are wiped. They all compete at an equal footing. And then when they get into the top 5 and the top 3, the scores are wiped again. I think that was probably the most fair of all the systems. So if I had to choose one system, I would choose the golden age pre-Trump.
I hope my viewers who are also like probably younger than me, they're like teenagers. I hope they watched the before like the 80s or 70s Miss Universe because I do agree. I really like to see the score system. So what do you think? Do you think we should bring back the score board or the leaderboard score system back in Miss Universe again?
Absolutely. There, there's a reason why a lot of us old timers love that. You got a sense of competition, and if your girl made it through, past the preliminaries, they're competing with with all the other strong girls, and they're all at an equal footing. You just don't know what's going to happen and which way the judges are going to go. So, yeah, that's the reason why I just love that era.
How do you feel about beauty queens who make advocacy just merely for the fact to compete for Miss Universe?
I think it sucks. I think a lot of these kinds of beauty queens who do take up an advocacy for the sake of competition, I think they come undone very quickly anyway. I think it comes across as rather fake. It's the same way I feel about women who compete in beauty pageants and then take up a charity or working charity just to score some points. If you're going to go and do charitable work, do it because you want to do it, because you generally want to help people. Yeah, I believe that it's a vocation. It's something that you take on for the rest of your life, not just for a competition. I think doing it just for a competition kind of sucks. On the other side, though, any kind of charity work or humanitarian work is a good thing, though. So even if you did it for a month, if you did it for a week, the fact that you still did it has made a difference. But I would like to see more girls do it and take it on board more as a lifetime exercise, as opposed to just doing it for the competition.
Do you think should Miss World beauty pageant bring back the swimsuit competition?
Oh God, I think we need to abolish the swimsuit competition in all pageants, to be honest. I don't see the relevance of it. We can see fit women out there who's not a typical size 0 or size 2. So, I really don't see the relevance of getting a girl out there. I do appreciate the whole evening gown thing. If you're going to go and do red carpet and do charity stuff and you look good in your evening gown, because you're representing an organization, absolutely. The whole bikini thing and the swimsuit thing, it's for fun. Yeah, whatever. I've never really seen a beauty queen these days go into a charity function in their swimsuit. I mean, what's the point? So, and the whole fitness thing, that's irrelevant because there's a lot of fit women out there that are not a size 0. So I think the swimsuit pageant should be eliminated from all pageants, not just Miss Universe or Miss World.
Body positivity. So do you think height requirements should be removed from all international beauty pageants?
As much as I'd like to, I think in theory, yes, we definitely need to get rid of the height requirement. In saying that, we are still competing in a beauty pageant. It's all about how you look on stage. The short girls find it very difficult to compete against tall women. Your eyes are just naturally drawn to tall women. They just automatically have more presence. So competition wise, if you're going to be a short girl that's going to compete in a pageant, you better bring something.
Australia did this year. She was like 5
Correct. It's such a shame. I think if Maria was a little bit taller, and I hate to say this because it's so superficial, she's such an amazing, she's probably one of the most glamorous Miss Universe Australians that we have ever sent in many years. And I just think if she was a little bit taller, she probably would have made more of an impact. So that's not her fault. It's not her fault that she's short, but it's just the nature of the industry, sadly. So yeah, tall girls just have a natural advantage.
Miss World is the only pageant in the top 2 that is stuck in its brand identity. What else should Miss World do to capture a larger fan market, sorry?
I don't think there's anything wrong with being stuck in a brand identity. If anything, it's probably, you probably need to celebrate it. Miss World know who they are. They know what they do. And they were here first before the fans. Yeah, the fans keep it alive, but it wouldn't be Miss World if Miss World didn't do the things that they do. So I actually do appreciate and celebrate the fact that Miss World is stuck on their brand identity. I don't think they need to change a single thing. It's what makes them different and what makes them special.
Why do you think the younger generation of beauty pageant fans should watch the vintage beauty pageant like Miss Universe pre-Trump era?
I think we need to go and look at it because, again, we celebrate a different standard of beauty these days to what it is before. But the women who came before the women of today actually had so much to offer. they were very strong when it comes to advocacy. They were very strong when it comes to, question and answer was amazing. That was the thing that you waited for. It's very important for us to kind of look back and look at the changing standards of beauty, as well as the things that we could learn from the people that came before us. So absolutely, to be an expert, if you want to call yourself an expert, you need to look at the industry as a whole, not as how we see it today. We have to look at it from way back, and look at the changes that we have gone through as an industry.
And as someone who is from the younger generation, I have been following, even though I started watching Miss Universe since 2003. I've been watching every single year Miss Universe just to make sure, I understand like how they pick the winners, or like how it has
Yeah.
changed in the 1952, the first Miss Universe,
Yes.
how much it has improved so much. So I hope the people from my generation also watches not only the IMG era, but also like back the golden era. Like,
Yeah.
the last question for you is, what message do you have for our viewers watching this video? So because you're an expert, so any advice, any suggestions, anything would be great.
Look, my advice is you guys are going to be the next wave of experts. You guys are going to be the next wave of mentors and coaches. And um, I really appreciate all of you for taking up the cause. I really do appreciate all of you for watching and being so passionate the way that you are. I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other. There's a lot that the old guard can learn from the new guard, and a lot the new guard can learn from the old guard. I think let's keep the communication open. I think it's so important to ask questions. I think it's important to share your views in a very respectful way, of course. But I, if anything, I just want to celebrate the fact that you guys are here and that you're keeping the industry alive. And because you have so much power in your hands, my message and the request that I have is make this something that we are all going to be proud of. Make this the Miss Universe, the Miss World, the Miss Grand, whatever. Make the pageant industry the pageant industry that we've always wanted it to be. The beauty queens talk about world peace and what have you. We used to laugh at that back in the day, but nothing is more relevant these days than that. Make this the pageant that we have always wanted it to be.
You worded it perfectly, and that's such a great message to end this interview. I'm so happy and so appreciative to have you, because you have so much knowledge about the before Trump era and like many years of Miss Universe pageant. And I feel like me, and I'm sure a lot of the younger viewers who watch this video can learn from you and just understand that it's not only about the recent Miss Universe or whatever is happening now. We have to like look at the history, learn from it, learn from the mistakes, and I hope that we can have some kind of merge previous generation and this generation.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope
It's an absolute pleasure and privilege to have been part of this, and thank you so much for giving me a voice and giving me a platform. I think it's lovely, and I cannot wait until all the borders open again and we can all travel again, and with no restrictions, because I would love to go to another international pageant. It's been a while, and I'd love to meet more people. Let's meet up and talk some more. It'll be great. So yeah, keep it alive. Keep it alive. Something for me to look forward to.
Sharing your insights and your knowledge about Miss Universe. I feel very honored to have you here, and I feel like I
Oh.
learned much more because of your presence. And I hope other people can also learn about, like I said, Miss Universe history and other pageants too, and also just learn more about it, because I feel like we as humans we should learn more, not just be stuck in like this little bubble that we are currently.
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just Peter Sereno. So it's just my first and my last name. We'll put that at the bottom anyway, at the comment section. If you want to follow me and my team, we have a pageant page called Dear Pageant Girl. We used to focus mainly on the big pageants, but it's also a platform to give the up and coming pageants, especially the Australian pageants, a stage to kind of present themselves in. So come and join us in that one too. But yep, absolutely follow me on Instagram, Facebook, under Peter Sereno or under Dear Pageant Girl.
I'm so happy to have you here. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead, Mr. Peter, and make sure to follow him on his social media platform, guys. He has great advice, and if you need a mentor, he's probably the best person I know who has many years of experience. So please do follow him and get any information, any knowledge you want to gain, because he's a perfect mentor. So once again, Mr. Peter, thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead. I'm going to sign off.
You too. Bye.